Yo, yo, yo. VGC beginner here. Danny VGC. Whatever. I'm going to be reacting to Wolfey winning the Orlando Regionals, trying to learn what I can from it, get better. Yeah, let's get into it. Have some fun. Skip ahead here. See the teams. Okay. So, Tatsugiri and Dondozo, I do not have a lot of experience playing with them or against them. I've just dabbled. Pokemon Showdown. I played more in Series 12 last year and then got busy with some other stuff. Getting back into it, I want to get a lot better. Tatsugiri and Dondozo, just like, it seems like something you just like load up and go, and then just like hope that it sweeps. But like, if you play against like a good Dondozo player, I know enough to know that you're gonna get rolled by a good Dondozo player. So I just don't even try it.
Pieces, but I want to talk about it as a whole. Is everything is so deliberate.
Gonna be watching Wolf, trying to see his team here. Where's his team? There it is. Paris Trap team. I'm just gonna keep playing. Palafin, I love Palafin. He kind of reminds me of that's when I play. That's the kind of style that I like to play, kind of with like a more offensive type Pokemon, and then try to support them in other ways. And then Paris Trap, I do not have. I've never played a Paris Trap. So hopefully I'll learn a little bit about how to play against Paris Trap and how to like use it potentially, but like it's not something that I would probably use. I know that Wolf has used it in the past and been successful with it, but I think like what I could take from this is probably like learning about positioning and how Wolfie knows like when to start to execute his main game plan versus when to just take damage or abandon it. But like the main thing I'm looking for from Wolfey is like positioning. Ashton's a good player too. I know that he's had a lot of success in the past. Sorry if I keep burping and stuff, by the way.
Limit the Palafin and its options because the Palafin, when it's been going off, it has
I'm not a iced coffee cold brew guy, but like from what I've heard, it makes you have to take a little bit of a shit.
Orlando Pokémon Regionals, Iron Hands, Goldango
okay.
And the field going up against the Palafin and
just looking at this here. So it looks like Ashton is thinking fake out one of the pair song users, and just like he went for damage across the board here. And then Wolfey with the Arcanine with the Intimidate substitute, or the Intimidate and Palafin. It's interesting he has Arcanine and Palafin together, because usually I would think he would switch Palafin out into Arcanine. But he's not going Paris Trap right away. That's interesting. But that's what I mean, because like if I loaded up a Paris Trap team, I'll just lead Paris Trap every time. But that's why I'm bad.
Now with the Palafin swapping out, you can activate that 0 to hero and be good for next turn. Arcanine
so Palafin 0 to hero. He's trying to absorb some damage from.
Gonna deal a chunk of damage, bringing it just
like there's a lot of damage potential, and he's just trying to disrupt that right now.
If Wolf wants to be able to keep it alive, just knowing how much that Goldango did into that slot,
if I had to guess, he would be trying to get rid of at least one of these Pokemon, and then start setting a Paris Trap. Just you want to get the players who can, the Pokemon who can like do a lot of damage and disrupt Paris Trap by knocking you out before the 3 turns are over. I'm guessing Wolfey.
The Terra options on Wolf ends and how things are pretty deliberate.
That's his goal right now.
Grass Terra type on any Pokemon, which is going to be the case with the Iron Hand. You know the purpose of it going up against the Amoonguss. It feels bad a little bit when there is that Arcanine on the other end of the field.
Oh, I thought he did that into the Grass Terra for a second. I'm gonna say you fucking crazy read.
Yeah, big KO there. Goldango definitely.
Well, I guess not, because it's open team sheets, but
a lot of recoil from that though. So this close combat into the Arcanine will be enough to pick up the knockout, and so
so I don't know if that's good from Ashton's perspective, because losing a Goldango is a big deal, especially when you have 2 Psychic types that are your Paris Trap setters. So it makes sense from Wolfey to knock out the super effective attacks against them first, and then from there it's kind of just like
being able to get rid of the threat of
you bring in your Paris Trap,
And now looking
And you
at
can
what
start
to
just like
bring
switching
in.
around.
No Dondozo, but is bringing the individual piece of Tatsugiri.
Oh,
Right, so Tatsugiri coming in
okay, well,
is pretty interesting. It
he's a
does
world
have the
champion,
choice scarf
and
attached, and he has the
I've
Icy
never
Wind,
been
Muddy
to
Water,
Master
and
Ball tier.
Draco Meteor.
This is probably
So
why.
a lot of offensive options here, but you also have some speed control.
Bring it in
honestly,
against
like just looking at how these
Grass
pieces are
Terra
positioned,
is interesting.
I wonder what Wolf has in the back. Is it a Perish Song user?
I wish I knew Wolfey's. I should have had their team sheets
down
up
here on Ashton's team
before watching this.
As of right now, you're really hoping that this
But like if he,
Alpin's gonna be able to do enough, but it's Gamoonga switch out
well, he has
here,
close
and so now
combat.
we get a chance to see what that fourth and final is gonna be. It will be the Scream Tail, so it does
So you
have
could-
something
is
that
he trying
has
to get
a
rid
Perish
of
Song option. We've seen the disable in terms of what it's
the
actually
Iron
doing
Hands now?
offensively beyond
But
that,
it's just
yes,
interesting
we
because he
can
can't
play
really
rough,
hit
of
it
course, but
hard,
you're
and
not gonna necessarily
Iron Hands
appreciate
can,
that on
if he has an
Ashton's end of
electric
the
move, which
field,
I'm assuming
but
he
this is definitely
does.
a Pokemon that can be better set up to end game things. Protect from Alpin to start things off, so that means it's going to be.
And Wolf didn't bring his
insane,
Gothitelle
but it
too,
was
so it's
a
hard to,
hit Draco
he can't
Meteor
really
into the
pin
Scream Tail,
anybody.
so that doesn't do anything
So his
thanks to the Fairy type.
Objective is to
Alpin seems
knock
well.
out at least two
Nice switch
Pokemon, so then he
here.
can just Perish Trap and end it.
The Fairy type
But that's
Scream
interesting to me
Tail
because
also just giving
Iron Hands
Wolf
get
an idea of what
walled
this
pretty
Tatsugiri is
hard
gonna
by
go for,
Amoonguss, doesn't he?
having that choice scarf, and this is a perfect opportunity if the Scream Tail wants to go for something like
Unless,
Disable, you
what were
could
the Iron
do that
Hands?
into that
Yeah, he just has
slot
fighting
to
and
be able to
electric
shut
type
off
moves,
this
so
Tatsugiri's pressure. But at this point,
it's over
Ashton's
against
really trying to
Amoonguss.
pivot out here to be sure that he's going to be able to get in kind of those bigger offensive threats here. And
So
also
Wolf, you
just
would think,
deal
would be
some damage to this
targeting the,
Paladin. Those stab electric type attacks can really hurt.
the Tatsugiri.
A can Palafin not wanting to stick around to be on the receiving end.
Oh, Amoonguss can't Spore or Rage Powder
The
the Iron Hands because of the Grass Terra.
Tatsugiri taking the play rough pretty well.
That playlift did a lot of damage.
Miss onto the Amoonguss.
Damn.
Twice in a row, this Tatsugiri
Okay.
isn't doing much at all. Oh, that's such a
I guess I
rough
overestimated
miss
how
there.
hard
I
it
mean,
would be
that able to at
take
least
out the
help out with
Tatsugiri.
the Amoonguss a little bit, but not in this case. You're really now just trying to deal with the damage that you can, and I mean, this Amoonguss is just so nice.
I wonder what Ashton's fourth Pokemon is.
You want to, but it's also really not being threatened by too much
He hasn't
on
revealed
Ashton's
it.
side of the field right now. Yes, the Iron Hands is going to avoid the Spore. It's going
This
to
is my
avoid the
thinking
Rage
face, by the
Powder
way.
here, but it's still
I do
not
like-
doing much to that Scream Tail either. No,
I
the
look like I'm in
Scream Tail is
serious thought,
definitely
but really
looking
I have
in
no
a
idea
really
what the fuck's
nice
going on.
spot. And at this point, too, just being able
Brain
to go
empty.
for this KO onto the Tatsugiri, remove that. Feels so bad for the Tatsugiri. Twice this Draco Meteor is doing nothing. Wild Charge, it's slowly chipping away at the Scream Tail, but
Yes, I think it's kind of,
slowly,
unless for,
really, there's situations where
depends
it's
on what the
not
fourth
enough.
Pokemon is,
Pollen
but
Puff is going to do a good amount of damage thanks to
Oh, yeah,
being
it's
super
Roaring
effective
Moon,
with
okay.
Grass Terra type.
oh yeah, we saw
Ooh,
that.
Okay,
I
we're
should pay
seeing the
attention
Roaring
there.
Moon as the fourth and final Pokemon here for Ashton.
I
and
fucking
so,
love Roaring Moon.
yes,
The
this
shiny's so
Scream Tail
cool.
has been pretty
Salamence is one of my
pretty
favorite
speedy, but also
Pokemon
not
of
so
all time.
much.
I was a big
that
Gen
it's
3
Not been
player.
able to move first multiple times
Huge
here,
Gen 3 fan.
but it's down to the final two Pokemon, and so
I'm
this is kind of
25.
do or die here for Ashton. Is the Roaring Moon going to be able to actually help out the Iron Hands? Maybe you want to be able to get some more damage into the
I played a
Amoonguss,
bit of,
but then
I played
also
Gen 4 a
just,
decent
you gotta
amount,
get it out
but
of the way. This is gonna
like
be a really
by the time
important
Gen 5 and
Pokemon
6
to
and
remove
7
when
came around, I was
you
like
don't want your
playing
Roaring Moon
other
to get put to
games and
sleep
stuff.
either. That's not
I'm
gonna
getting
be able
back
to
into
save
Pokemon in
itself.
the last couple years. I've
And the
always
weird
loved it,
thing
but like
is
during those
there's
years I would
now
just replay
two
Gen 3 and Gen
Pokemon
4
left for Ashton,
and
so
Gen
you have
1.
to be so worried about any threat of
Ah,
Perish.
focus.
Lucas swapping out and is gonna bring the Palafin in, taking the acrobatics pretty well, but no, we're going for pure
God damn.
aggression at this point. Play rough is gonna be
Scream Tail,
enough.
I don't know what
It's
its
one
attacks
KO
that is, but I
onto
know
the
it's not
Roaring
great. I
Moon,
think
and
it's
now
like,
one Pokemon
because
left.
its special
This
attack isn't great
Grass
either. I'm pretty sure
Iron
they're
Hand,
like the
Wild
high
Charge
80s or
into
something,
the
or like low
Paladin, even
90s.
being a super effective hit.
What do you mean
This
4
Iron
times
Hand is
super
just not
effective?
doing enough damage to anything at this point. Yeah, unfortunately.
So he didn't even
Roaring
go with the
Moon is not
Perish this
necessarily
game.
one of the
He just went for
defensive
damage.
Pokemon, so that's gonna be
Which
a
is pretty
really
impressive, because if you have a
rough
Perish
ace to
Trap
take.
team,
It's just the
you'd
Iron
think a
Hand,
lot of it
right?
would be
Even the
just like
Terrestrialization on
disruption,
top. Wolf is just trying to ensure the
bulk,
victory
switch
here,
around.
going for an extra increase
But
onto those water type
between the
attacks.
Arcanine and
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Palafin. Like, there's decent damage on the board, and then Amoonguss and Screamtail.
and just cleaning things up in any way, shape, and
Yeah, so
form.
that Perish
That'll be a
ends it.
Perish long, so regardless of how things go, this will end in 3 turns. But Wave Crash from this speedy
How much damage does this do? I'm
Palafin
curious.
hitting into the Iron Hands is going to do
Jesus
so
Christ.
much damage.
Palafin
And
is so
that
sick.
is going to be Wolf the Lick here, winning game 1.
Game 1 in honestly
Alright,
kind
so
of
Wolf
a pretty
wins game
decisive
1.
fashion. Wolf
He
had a
didn't go
very
with
nice
the
game
Perish
plan
trap,
going
really.
into all
I
of
think
the
he kind of
Pokemon
made the
that we
assumption
see
that
Ashton bring to this
Ashton would
match, and
be
being able to get such a quick knockout onto
like
the Golden Go removed a lot of pressure.
would be
from
trying to
the
play
rest
around
of
the Perish
Pokemon
trap and
on
would
the
just go
field,
heavy
but
damage.
How does Ashton adjust to this? It doesn't feel
And I guess it's
particularly
impressive that
safe
Wolf was
bringing the
able to
Dondozo
disrupt
and
that with
Tatsugiri
just
combo, and
the
Roaring Moon just
the
unfortunately
super
felt like it
effective play
wasn't-
rough did a lot of work, and the Palafin did too, but like the Arcanine, yeah, it's just interesting because he didn't really use the Perish trap to win that round. And I watched the rest of the top cut, and he was like, Wolf's like default mode was like Perish trap, like he would bring Gothitelle and Screamtail, and he would set it up early in games, and sometimes he would set it up twice in one game, but in this game he went for just damage. And I guess that's the sign of a good team, is that you're the ability to either play towards the Perish trap and have enough bulk and synergy to switch around, but then also have the ability to just go for straight damage and knock them out. Because that's where I would see this is where I need to get better.
Draco Meteor didn't do anything, so that was a good call on Wolf.
I would just
Missing
use
Draco
the
Meteor on the second
like I would literally
turn,
just
that would've
lead
been a lot
like
of damage that was gonna be dealt
Gothitelle,
into the
Amoonguss, and just like
unfortunately,
fucking Perish trap
running those inaccurate
and like
moves,
Rage
these
Powder,
moves
and I'll
have a lot
knock
of
out
power
2, and
for
then
a
I'll be
reason.
left
There
with like
is going to be
Screamtail
that chance. So
and like
maybe that
Arcanine or
could have
something,
been
and I'll try to
something that
Perish
could
trap
have been
again,
more
and
of
then
a
they would probably
game
just roll
changer, and
me.
the Tatsugiri could still be a good bring into it. But at the same time, you really need to be thinking, because it is your tournament life on the line at this point, and that is such a tough blow with that Pokemon.
Shout out Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, Ashton really
For the
just
hair.
kind of figuring
Respect
out how
it.
to work around what the pressure is on Wolf's side. He
Fellow
talked a
and
little bit about like that.
not
dribbles
doing
the
hair
pressure
enjoyer.
on and whether
I just
Two
throw on
is he
hats.
doesn't even have to play on multiple
grow it
turns,
out.
so it is
I don't give a
tough
fuck.
to make
Alright.
your way to the matchup anyways. So you can't even hope that your opponent doesn't want
So
to
same
play.
leads
So
for
it is
Wolf.
tough, but here it is. Time to hop into game 2.
And then
It will be
his
the
adjustments
Dondozo
bring the
next to
Dondozo.
Golden Go on Ashton's end.
That makes sense
Arcanine
because
and
if Wolf
Palafin yet again making an appearance
was
on
to
Wolf.
just go for straight
Yeah, so
damage
there's a
again like
couple
he
of
did in the
things
first
that the Arcanine
round
here
rather
on
than going
Wolf's
for
side
Perish
can
trap,
go for. You
he's
already
not
got
going to be
an
able
Intimidate
to
drop onto the
roll through the Dondozo.
but honestly,
So,
you're really looking at maybe being able to just kind of get some damage down onto the Golden Go.
Wolf is
That
probably going to
Flare
be forced
Blitz
into
was
bringing out the
plenty
Perish
able
trap to
pick up
beat the
knockout
Dondozo.
earlier on, so that would be a quick KO.
But that
also
could
a free
be an issue if he
switch
didn't
for
adjust by
Ashton
bringing
to
the
be
Gothitelle.
able to
Like
get
if
that
he just brought the
Dondozo
same
combo
4,
up if he so
that could be
chooses.
difficult without the Gothitelle.
That's the thing. I'm intrigued though about how you want to be going.
'Cause I don't know
about this.
if
You can see the hovers.
Screamtail's
You
going to be able
really
to sit in
wanna
front of
make sure you
Dondozo
get
for
this
3
first turn
turns.
up right. Arcanine protecting.
But he did get the Intimidate
Wolf
on
is
it, which is
protecting the
nice.
launcher in the tournament just to
Intimidate
scout
helps with
things out and
Dondozo,
make
but
sure
like,
things are gonna be safe, and
I don't know where your
no
damage is coming
exception
from
for
on
this
it.
time. Palafin also takes
Because you have an
this
Arcanine, you have a
opportunity to make
Palafin with
sure
close combat is
surviving
it's
into
only
the
like
next turn. You get the information on where things are targeting, what things want to do.
not resisted
and the
move.
Golden Goat will do nothing. But this
Amoonguss had
does
Pollen
lead the
Puff, that's
way
not
for a free
doing anything.
substitute.
Yeah, so Dondozo just going to go ahead
Yeah,
and start
especially with the
setting up
sub.
here. The Golden Go has locked itself into the Shadow Ball for now, but can switch out
Perish
to
Song
be able
goes through
to
sub though,
re-
because it's
get
sound
the
based.
choice specs that it has for some super effective damage later. And Dondozo already putting a bunch of pressure onto the Arcanine here as Wolf is going to start things off with the swap.
And that'll be this Screamtail.
I hope you
making
can
its
hear
way
everything
onto the
well,
field
by the
as
way.
Palafin
This is
goes 0 to
literally the
hero,
first video that I've
hiding
ever
in the
done,
back
so I
for
hope
a
that the
later
camera's good,
occasion. And the
sounds
Screamtail
good.
is
If not,
what
let me
makes
know.
this matchup tricky. It's definitely not the Paradox that I thought would be making this type of tournament run and one game away from closing up the regionals, but it's so good in this position.
It really
So he brought the
is, and
Dondozo,
you're
but
gonna
he-
see a switch here from Ashton
Tatsugiri
as
didn't just
well.
come out
You
right
have the
away.
Dondozo that's safe
That's
by
interesting
substitute
because
the Iron Hands.
if I
He's gonna be
was
making an appearance,
Ashton,
but
my
a little
response
bit of
would
a
have
switch
been
up here from
to
Wolf. He's gonna go ahead
just
and
set up the
pair water with
Dondozo
Arcanine.
immediately and force Wolf
Yeah,
to
making sure this
try
is
to set up
defense
Parasong to knock it
Parasite
out.
in because all
Because
of
I
a
don't know
sudden
how
you're
he
looking across the
damages
field, it's something like the Dondozo, and you want to make
Dondozo
sure
at
that
all.
you're not going to be taking too much damage from it. Iron Hand's going to take a tunk from the Flare
after
Blitz
it's set
from
up with the
Arcanine,
Tatsugiri.
and the Wave Crash coming out from the Dondozo, hitting into the Arcanine slot. Look at how little damage that does now because of the Water Terra type.
Yeah, the resist there is
But yeah, Dondozo
absolutely
with Tatsugiri should
critical,
just
and
completely roll
honestly,
Wolf's
I don't
team.
know if there's another
Like,
better
yeah, you're scared of
option
the
here.
Parasong,
Palpatine
but
gonna be able to do a lot of damage in the end game as
you'd
well,
be doing a lot
but
of damage
it
before
does
that.
leave Arcanine a little bit vulnerable to the Iron Hands that's on the field, unless Wolf feels like he has
I
a
mean,
great way to be able to deal with the Iron Hands for now. So
I'm bad
will be a
at the
switch out
game.
here of the Arcanine in favor of the
So who
Amoonguss,
knows?
which will take those electric type
But I feel like
attacks
that
with
would have
her.
been my. I mean, maybe he's afraid to get
Amoonguss
spored by the
definitely eats those
Amoonguss
types of hits for
or
breakfast,
disrupted.
but feeling good about the
But like at the
Parasong
same time, Wolf would have to use a lot of
situation, Scream Tail is
resources
gonna
just
go
to
and
deal
set
with
that
it.
up instantly, though, a Volt Switch. It does very little damage, but it is going to be able to have the chance to swap out. And because of that, Parasong not going to be affecting that slot. So Dondozo will be the only one that is now on the timer. At least on Wolf's, on Ashton's end.
Yeah, we're going to see the Wave Crash come through and just a little bit more damage there into the Scream Tail to try to remove it from the field. But, I mean, with the Golden Go on the field, too, she's trying to figure out a way to deal with the Scream Tail.
Yeah, this is a good
Force
position for
out a switch here, but here are the
Ashton.
counters.
Because the Goldengo should also just be able to roll a
Importantly,
lot
on
of these
Ashton's end, the Dondozo
Pokemon.
needs to find this chance to be swapping and getting rid of that. Wolf has a couple of turns to play around with and really just be a thorn on the side. But the thing is there is nothing that is locking anything on Ashton's side in place. But it does force.
Do you want to lock in to make it rain here?
Which means there's going to be a slot that's not doing
I guess you have
anything,
the
and you can make reads or just hits into that to make
Iron
sure
Hands to
comes
deal
races.
with the Terra Water
Gonna be coming
Arcanine.
in on a really bad note.
Yeah, so Wolf could go for a double protect
Yeah.
here. We've seen it do it a few
Yeah, I
times.
think Make It Rain
with
is
the Scream
fine.
Tail and the Amoonguss being in, and so Ashton's kind of playing around with.
But
do I
you
try to
can't
get
really
the
hit the
damage
Palafin
off?
either, but it's
If the
not.
double protect comes
It's
through,
pretty
am I
bulky,
gonna
actually.
be in a bad position?
Especially
to
when it's not
preserve
very
the Dondozo
effective.
for later and bring the Tatsugiri in. And this is why this matchup is a little bit tough positionally. You don't want the Dondozo and the Tatsugiri to be stuck in here together if the Scream Tail decides to go for another Parasong.
And it will be a protect, not a double this time around, as Amoonguss is going to go for.
I hope you guys
some
can
sort
see
of
that a lot of this is
either
just straight up
Pump
going over
or
my
the
head.
Spore, Make It Rain, doing a good amount of
Like-
damage into that spot, but it will be the Spore.
This is why I'm
in
watching this
return
stuff.
onto the freshly swapped in Tatsugiri.
Yeah, so Tatsugiri
Because I have no
falling
fucking
asleep
clue
here,
what
still
I
gonna
would
be
do in
able
these
to
situations.
help out Ashton in terms of the pivot, but
Showdown,
you
highest rank
have
ever.
a little bit
I
of a
think I
predicament
touched
here on both
1300 for like a
sides.
second and then immediately
Amoonguss,
dropped
their
down to
Parrish
like
counters are now going to start to count down.
1100.
Ashton still has plenty of Pokemon healthy
with like
to be able
the
to go for some attacks here.
whatever
You
it's
did
called,
see the Scream
Elo. I
Tail
don't know.
end up using that protect in that last turn, so Ashton is very
I
safe
forget
to
if
go
I
for
ever
some
got into
type of
Ultra Ball
damage
T or
here.
not.
And then
Laddering
Tatsugiri, it's not going to be doing much
the
right
actual
now,
game
so
in
maybe you preserve it to be able to get the Commander boost
Sword and
later
Shield.
for the Dondozo once you take care of that threat of the Scream Tail, knowing it's the only Parasong user in this game number 2.
This is why I
And
need
it
to
will
get
be the
better.
swap out to make sure that it is preserved for later as Palafin makes its way back in.
Okay,
That's the scary
Palafin,
thing, because the
back
pivot,
in.
you're just bringing in a really strong Pokemon that can start trying to be going for those KOs and dealing that damage out. Tatsugiri not really doing much on the field
Okay, so he
whatsoever,
read
is
the
swapping out
Palafin
its
switch
Iron
in.
Hand and making its appearance back out.
But I don't know if it
Correct
matters.
here from the
Because the
Amoonguss,
Palafin
just
has
kind
more
of
natural
playing things
speed.
safe and feeling it out, but I mean, Ashton at this point can use the Make It Rain, and Palafin is still going to be in a pretty good position. Like, look at how little that's going to do.
There's already the special attack drop on Ashton's Golden Go. The Palafin
Yeah, now
already
Wolf has to switch out the
resists hit.
Amoonguss.
The longer
He's
the
kind of
Golden
just been
Go
out of
stays
position.
in,
I guess the
going for Make It
Dondozo
Rain,
at the
less
beginning,
and less
even though he
damage
didn't
it's
set it
gonna
up
do
with
over time.
Tatsugiri, it was disruptive enough because
And like
Wolf
another
just
kind
doesn't
of
have
tricky
any
choice here for
assets
Ashton
really to
make.
deal with
You know, do you keep
the
going
Dondozo.
for the
Like, he either has to
damage,
spore it
with the Golden Go? Do you try to switch it out?
or
Are you
Parasong
feeling
it,
safe
but
about
he can
bringing
just switch
Tatsugiri
around
or
that
Dondozo in the face
and
of
protect,
the
and
Palafin
he has sub
Amoonguss?
also.
At least we're going to see a switch here.
I think
Amoonguss just not want to stay in. get that
Ashton, at the
regenerated
beginning of the
healing
game,
back.
he was able to get
And
up a
bring the
sub.
Arcanine out,
If he was able
bringing
to set
out
up
the
his
Intimidate,
Dondozo then,
drop the attack stat on
to
the
be able to
Iron
ignore
Hands, and any-
Spore
like,
and
there's a good amount of hits.
Intimidates and stuff like
I'm
that,
looking specifically to Make It Rain, not gonna do
I wonder if he
anything
would have
there.
been able to
Wave
just
Crash
roll from
into the
there.
Iron Hands. That is going to
But
be a
at the
KO
very
on
least, it did
Wolf
disrupt
and
Wolf's
thing,
game plan
and
because
being in such a good
game 1 he
position.
just
Good
wanted to go
chunk of
straight damage, and it looked like he went like
onto
that
the Palafin,
game
but this
2
Make It
also,
Rain does so
and have
little
Parasong in the
damage.
back if he saw the opportunity.
Yeah, and the choices for Ashton are starting to whittle down. We have the Scream Tail on Wolf's side, just still kind of silently waiting in the back. So if Ashton ends up in a position where the Dondozo and the Tatsugiri are both on the board, Wolf can switch back in the Scream Tail
So-
if he has another Pokemon available and just go ahead and go
You have to be
for
able to
that
get a sub back
Parasong.
up.
But this Golden Go at this point isn't doing very much damage. So you're kind of considering, like, is this going to be the perfect
So that
time
you can
to
set up
switch
your
it
Dondozo
go
and just
ahead
start
get
doing
this
damage.
Dondozo
So
up
even
and
if you
running?
do get Parasong, like you would,
With potentially
if you
running out of
target correctly
options,
around
going
protects,
a
you
big
should be able
Earthquake,
to
taking this double KO and seeing and hoping that you can be doing enough next time around could just be the play.
knock
The
them out
Arcanine, though,
before.
swapping out, that's not
Because like I say, he doesn't
all
really
you
have
with
any
anything
answers
else,
for
and it'll be the Amoonguss coming
Dondozo.
back out. There's
Like
been
he has
so
Parasol
many
as an answer,
pivoting,
but
and
with
it's
just the
not
Scream
gonna end
Tail,
whatsoever, as we know
and he's
what's
eaten
about
a
to
lot of
happen
damage
next.
so
It'll be this
far
Tatsugiri coming out,
with this positioning,
popping right
like
into the Dondozo's mouth and
positioning
activating
back
that
and forth.
commander and getting a nice boost
So he
to
did
all
set
these
up.
stats.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. If
You
it's
would have liked to
safe,
have gotten it
it'll
behind a
still do
sub
its
first
job
before he
to
set it
help
up,
out that
but
Dondozo. And at this point,
it's
too,
still in a good position though because
now you're
Wolfey's
stuck with
been
your Ashton. You've got the Dondozo, you've
damaged.
got the Tatsugiri on the field. You're
He's been
not
chipped
able to
on
switch
almost
here.
all of his Pokemon by
Palpin
now.
is going for protect. Fishing
So
for
now he
what's
has to hit.
happening here from this
Oh, he
Dondozo.
just has an Earthquake.
Yeah, so it's going to be safe here from the Earthquake. The Amoonguss hopping in, of course, is not going to be. The Earthquake by itself is not going to be enough, but it
That
does
does a-
deal a
that
really
does a
good
good
amount
amount.
of damage, and it goes down to the fact, too, that the Amoonguss with the Rage Powder, it can't redirect a move that hits everything on the field.
Yeah, the Dondozo as well. When you have these attack boosts coming through
What
from the
Terra
commander,
is
you're really looking to try to get a double
Dondozo?
knockout here. Wolf is trying to play this positional game, switching back out the Palafin, bringing in the Scream Tail, but is the Scream Tail going to be able to survive through this Earthquake? There's still other outs that Wolf has here, as he is just going to go ahead and get the double switch.
Yeah, the chip on
Arcanine
Amoonguss
now
was a
coming
big
back
deal
in too.
because it wouldn't be able to take two
Taking
Earthquakes.
taking the hit through the turn and trying
So
to
Wolfey
win
would have
it.
had to
Dondozo
Spore on
can
that
be
turn.
Going on forward as it fires off another Earthquake. I'll have to see just how much they'll still do a good amount.
But he did get the Regenerator
Takes
boost
down the
now.
Arcanine, the
So he's
Scream
sacking the
Tail,
Arcanine, got the
that is a
Regenerator
bulk
boost
Pokemon
on the
that is gonna make
Amoonguss.
it handedly through the turn.
So now I should be
It's a
able to
bulky
eat one more
Pokemon, and
Earthquake
that's
and
kind of why
Spore.
Wolf is okay sacrificing the Arcanine here. You're really there to be able to preserve the Scream
But
Tail.
you just
and
sub.
unfortunately, because of how fast that Scream Tail is, it might be able to go ahead and get the Parasong off before Ashton is able to knock it out.
Well, I guess
Kind of
Tatsu and
identifying, okay,
Goldango always
should
beat
I go
Amoonguss,
for
so you don't
maybe
need
a
to.
bit more
But I think
damage there,
sub
where
is
you
always
might do have
safe
the Wave
here.
Crash, it would be able to get the stab, or do I try to go for the spread damage here with the Earthquake?
Isn't it? Because
Knowing how little it was
you're
doing in
faster,
that
so
last
you
turn,
fast
thanks to those
sub.
Intimidate drops.
And that's what's so scary, because all of a sudden you don't want to have this Amoonguss just be.
But Parasong does go
away,
through the sub, but like
regardless, just the fact that the
you'll be able to
Scream
get
Tail
2
is
turns of
so
just damage out.
fast, will be moving first and will set the Parasong. So the Dondozo, regardless of what it goes for, is on a timer. Wave Crash freely into the Scream Tail after the fact, though, will pick up.
Okay,
a KO.
true. So
if
you
can just do
knock out
enough
the.
in a
So
couple of
Amoonguss is
turns,
pinned now.
it
He's
could
done in
be
3
an
turns.
Okay situation, especially with one Pokemon still in the back.
He tried to palm.
Look at that. Amoonguss was trying
So
to
if
go
he
for the
if he did
Pollen Tusk there
sub,
onto the Scream Tail to
but
try to keep it
Earthquake
alive
would
a
have
little
knocked
bit
it out.
more, but yeah, Amoonguss is on that timer too, so we can see the Palafin
But by
come
doing
back
that-
out and try to do some damage, but it's already very low, and this Dondozo
So I guess Palafin's
is
gonna have
still
trouble
putting in a ton
damaging
of
the
work, so
Tatsugiri. It would have to
Quick Protect
use
here just to try to stall out
close
these
combat.
remaining turns of this Parasong. Amoonguss going for the Protect too.
Limit the amount of damage that the Dondozo has access to, considering it just
I feel like
has
you
so
Spore
little
in that
time
instance if
left.
you're Wolfey.
So this turn, it's not going to be able to do anything. Next turn, we'll have to see just what mileage Earthquake can do, because if you can just clean up the
'Cause
rest of what's
the
on
Dondozo
both
can just
sides,
switch
well,
out.
that's going to be your win con right there, with these being the final 2 Pokemon.
to remove
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Perish.
unfortunately, yeah, Palafin's not going to be dealing with the timer.
Like, if you
Neither is
switch out, something's
Tatsugiri,
gonna-
because it was invulnerable.
can you
hopping
switch
into
out?
the Dondozo's mouth, so
Wait.
it actually didn't hear the song. Funny enough, Dondozo was enough to be able to keep that safe. So even if Wolf at this point,
Oh, I don't think you
is actually
can
gonna be
switch
able
out.
to
I don't really know
get
how that
through this
interaction works with
Dondozo or
Dondozo
outlast it
and
to be
Tatsugiri
able
in the
to
mouth with
get a
one Pokemon in the
knockout.
back,
You
'cause you
still
could
have
switch
the Tatsugiri that has the choice scarf
into
available, as well as the Goldango that
Goldango,
has
but
the
then you would
choice
have to
specs, and
switch.
Mugus isn't going to be able to do too much.
Well, they're still
unless it wants
combined,
to
so
go
you
for
really
the
only have
attacking
2
moves.
so never mind. Sorry.
Really, just the Amoonguss here for Wolf.
Bad at the game.
And it's got the Perish
This is
count
why
to
we're
1
here.
as we're going to be looking at a game number 3.
Yeah, and I love that Wave Crash. Make sure you're taking out the Palafin, because the Pollen Puff can't be boosting up the HP of that Pokemon. Since
Okay,
Amoonguss
okay,
also having
okay.
heard the Parasong will be getting KO'd at the end of
There's
this
the Spore.
turn. So to end things off, it is going to be the Spore, regardless
yeah.
of the end of this. Both of these Pokemon are going to bed
So
in a different
Ashton-
sense, but hey,
Oh,
the Chesto-Berry, at least you can
see, I
see
should
that go off.
have the team
Yeah,
sheets
listen,
open, so I could have
you can
known that he had the
confirm that it
Chesto-Berry.
is
That's
gonna be
why.
the Chesto
Just
and
in
rest
case.
set. Yeah, just to be able to prepare for next time. But Amoonguss knocks itself out here. Tatsugiri comes out
Just had
without
the
hearing the
Spore.
Parasong either. So
Like, not
game
sporing
number 3,
earlier.
Let's go.
Like, that would make a lot
I
of sense.
am here for it, and a little case of the Perish Song just going a little...
Okay, so that game was interesting because it was like, hold on, let me scratch my titty. That game was interesting because Wolfey went with the same game plan. It looked like where he went for just damage, and then Ashton adjusted by bringing out the Dondozo to start. And by doing so, Wolfey didn't really have reasonable ways to damage Dondozo. Basically just Perish Song and like chipping it over and over again. And he couldn't even spore it because it had the Chesto Berry. So Ashton's adjustment to bring the Dondozo was really good because it forced Wolf into like a lot of switching around. And when you go for a Perish Song, like it does trap the opponent sort of because it forces them to switch within the next 3 turns. But at the same time, like you're not doing damage with the like over those turns. Like you still have a Scream Tail out there. With Play Rough, that did a lot of damage into the Roaring Moon. And it can damage the Tatsugiri, but he didn't bring the Roaring Moon the last time. And with a boosted Dondozo, and even just like a regular Dondozo, like Play Rough isn't doing anything. And if you just keep it away from the Tatsugiri, like Wolf didn't really have like a reasonable way to damage the Dondozo, and it forced Wolf into kind of like pivoting around, and Ashton just like chipped and chipped and chipped before eventually setting up the Dondozo Tatsugiri. So for the next game, I figure Wolf is going to have to adjust because he's going to have to figure out a way to damage the Dondozo. Either you bring the other Perish Song user in Gothitelle and you try to pin the Dondozo in with Perish up. Fake Out is also helpful. Wolf also had the Fluttermane, and I forget what other Pokemon he had, but I feel like the lead from Wolf is probably the same, but I think you bring Scream Tail again, but you also bring the Gothitelle. And I think you just have to go Perish, because I don't see how he gets through the Dondozo without Perish. That would be my adjustment from straight out of Great Ball tier.
About a Dondozo being stuck on the field with Perish Song.
What's Wolf's other Pokemon?
Had Wolf had more Pokemon, then it could have been a little bit of a different situation, since you could try and pick off a Tatsugiri that's all by itself, but then you have to give kudos to the fact that Ashton did still.
But Ashton has
Golden Go in the back.
He has double Dark and Ghost, so he can hit.
Had left himself in a position where the
Scream Tail is part fairy, but
you also have to get past
you can do some
Golden Go,
damage to them
so
too.
problematic in so many different
Fluttermane
areas.
just doesn't come.
Yeah, I mean, even
against
just with
double
the
Dark
Tatsugiri with the Icy Wind, and then the Golden Go just having all of that special attack damage.
The fairy
moves
will
be really
do
tough,
good damage,
so Wolf
but
just kind of trying to figure out some way
if
to
that Brute Bonnet
stall
has
to
Sucker
figure
Punch,
out
like
enough
it's just
time to think about how he wants to go into this third and final game, the game that will decide it all here at the Orlando.
So my adjustment, if I was Wolf, I would lead Arcanine and Palafin again with Scream Tail, and well, do you need the Arcanine? It's helpful versus Iron Hands. It's helpful versus Dondozo, but aside from that, like it's not really doing anything, and it's not really resisting anything either. Because if you tear a water, you have the Iron Hands that it has to deal with, and yeah, no, from Wolfie's side, I think you bring the Amoonguss, the Palafin, the Gothitelle, and the Scream Tail. And I would lead. Well, you have to assume he's going to lead Dondozo again at least. So I would lead Scream Tail and Palafin, and I would switch out the Palafin into the Gothitelle and go for a Perish like right away. I'm thinking. Because he's going to bring the Dondozo and the Iron Hands. Well, the Iron Hands could fake out. So you could fake out and Perish. Or no, if you're leading the so I would lead Palafin Gothitelle and then fake out and switch into the Scream Tail and then Perish and then go from there. Ashton, I think you have to bring the Dondozo to start. I would not set up Tatsugiri Dondozo immediately, I would want to get a sub up first, so that Arcanine can't do anything, and then you just... I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what the fucking professional players do.
Credit to Ashton
rather than
where
me
credit is due. That was a very tough position to navigate. The
trying to
way
give
that he
my
was able to
opinion.
lock down
Okay.
The game is this workout. Your game where you can't.
Okay,
okay.
A huge role there. That is for
So he brought the
sure,
Arcanine still.
but it's gonna be a bit of a
But
switch up here.
he did bring the
Wolf actually
Gothitelle.
going to bring in the Gothitelle
Did he bring it
for
over the
first time in
Screamtail or
series.
the
Both
Amoonguss
players
or the
have been
Palafin?
pivoting
I wonder.
so
It's
much.
interesting that he brought
Gothitelle
the
with that Shadow Tag is
Arcanine,
gonna
so he's
make it
scared of
nothing
the
on Ashton
Iron
and
Hands.
can be swapping out here.
Which makes sense, because
At least on
Iron
its
Hands is
own,
like the
Iron Hands
main
does have the
form of
ability to go in
damage,
for a Voltage if
like
it
easy
wants to. It
damage
does
from
have that option
Ashton,
later on. But at the same
where it can just
time,
start launching
you're
big hits right away.
low-key stuck at least
So
with this
slowing
one
that down is a big
Tatsugiri
deal.
and the Iron Hands.
I mean, you're just getting so much pressure on you from the Arcanine, but it's not even going to go for an attack here. It's just going to be a switch out.
What else did
in
he bring?
favor of the
Screamtail.
Screamtail.
Okay.
It's starting now.
So he's going Perish
Hey, I
heavy
mean,
this game.
We've seen Wolf go for these aggressive early turns.
So you
for
fake
results,
out, you
just
probably
how attack
avoid the
makes it
Draco,
be.
or
So
it's...
bringing that in, you now have to be worried about that.
You
Big
avoid the
on
Draco by switching the
Gothitelle
Screamtail in.
is just going to be the
Ashton-
chip. Make sure it doesn't do anything. And
That's the
Muddy Water
safe
does
play for the
not
Muddy
do
Water.
much whatsoever. Just that little bit of
Iron Hands is faster than Gothitelle?
So now you're looking at a position where the Muddy Water is going to continue to at
That's
least
it.
get
Wait. I'm sorry.
No, Wolf moment with the Tatsugiri. The same nothing on Ashton need to be good.
What happened
You're
that turn?
just
What did the
getting
Gothitelle
so
do?
much pressure on you from the Arcanine,
So
but it's not
Arcanine
even
out.
going to go for an attack here.
Hey, I mean, we've seen Wolf be. So bringing that in, you now have to be worried.
Yes, the
about
Iron Hands is
anything.
faster than the Gothitelle.
Damage down, and the position where the Muddy Water is going to continue to at least
Volt
get
Switch
some
is helpful
damage
versus
down, and the Tatsugiri
Perish
too.
Trap.
Just going with that choice guard,
Because you
will
can
be
switch
locked
out.
into it for the
I mean,
time
it's helpful
being,
against Shadow
but
Tag because you can
Iron
switch out.
Hands still might be able to
But,
position
like, I don't
out,
know
and
if that
it's kind of up to Ashton whether or
really
not he
helps that
feels
much,
like,
because then if
you know,
you're switching
bit of
out, you're
damage
switching
down
into
and the
something
Volt
that you
Switch
can.
is
It's
gonna
just
be
free
enough in
damage.
case the Screamtail does end up going
And I
for
don't
something
think
like a
Ashton
Parasong.
has any.
But
He has
it's just a
some
play
dark
rough here. Nice
resists.
call just to get them
But
damage.
yeah, that.
Some damage, but not enough to be
I don't know what the
taking that hero
Tatsugiri
on
is
the
really doing
Tatsugiri
there.
fires off
Like, it's helpful
another
if you want to set up the
Muddy Water.
Dondozo
Draw
immediately,
onto the Gothitelle at this point,
but I don't know if that's the
but
right
doing also
call.
enough damage that it will
And by
get a
doing
little
that, you
bit of
expose it
health
to the
recovery
play
points
rough.
with that Citrus Berry. Now the Volt
I
Switch
think you really need to
on
either.
to the Screamtail.
The Tatsugiri just
Little
isn't
damage,
doing
but the
enough. Like, it's
important part
chipping
is
these
going to
Pokemon,
be
but
a pivot on Ashton's end.
um,
He can bring in that Dondozo if he chose.
yeah, at this
chooses,
point you
so
need to.
The little health that Tatsugiri has, it doesn't matter. Regardless of whether you're full health or just a little bit, the commander is still going to work the same.
Like, you need to
Yeah,
just knock
Tatsugiri
these
has
people
definitely
out.
done its job at this point, being able to put
But-
some pressure down.
Okay, so you need to set up the Dondozo. See, Wolf did a really good job to start this game because he covered for a lot of his options. He led with the Arcanine so that if he did just go Dondozo right away, because that's the biggest threat to Wolfey at this point, is just the Dondozo getting set up and then rolling everybody before he has a chance to, like, pin anybody, pivot around. So Wolf covered for that by leading with the Arcanine, so it would have immediately been only +1 if you set it up right away. I forgot what I was saying.
The only thing that I feel like Ashton needs
Bad
to be a
player.
little worried about at this point is
I have
that he's
ideas.
locked in
Like,
here,
oh, that's a good idea, and
his
I just don't
Gothitelle
remember
does
it.
have access to Heal Pulse,
As I
so
start
it
to
could
think about it
help
more.
keep this Screamtail a little bit more healthy, going for something like the Parasong.
Yeah,
and then
leading the
getting a quick
Tatsugiri
pivot
was
out with that Dondozo,
was
putting on
tough.
some pressure
I think
here with
you
the Earthquake to get some
rather
spread
lead the
damage onto both
Dondozo
Screamtail
than the
and Gothitelle.
Tatsugiri.
And every turn,
Because then you still have that
the
option to
Gothitelle
switch it in and
is
set it up right
full
away
pulsing,
if
it's not
Wolfey
protected.
isn't
So it-
prepared for
with
it.
a spread move like this
But-
Earthquake, Ashton can at least be putting on this constant pressure, so that if it
So
does
he's
go
just
for
trying to
something
set it
like
up and
that,
roll.
maybe be in a
Like, he's
position
just trying to
where
get them
you can
both
set
out.
that
But
Gothitelle instead
Wolfey
swapping
being
out,
able
at
to
least
pivot
Shadow
these guys
Tag, not
around
going
is,
back
like,
quite
really
in this
tough.
case, and bringing the
So he went
Amoonguss in.
hardcore Perish
Yeah,
this
so
game.
Amoonguss,
And his
it's
decision
been
to
a move that we've seen from Wolf a
take
few
out the
times
Palafin
before,
for the Gothitelle.
just
I think
letting
that's
the Amoonguss come
smart.
in, going ahead and
Because the
seeing that
Arcanine, it doesn't,
Parasong
like, it couldn't
and
hit
the Earthquake
anything
as
super
well.
effectively.
Yeah, Amoonguss is gonna soak
But
that up, no problem.
it couldn't resist. I mean,
See
it
the double
resisted
come through on
all of
that turn, but
Ashton's
the critical
Pokemon
hit
too.
is a knockout here.
No way.
That's a big crit.
Screamtail gone for the count. Sets the Parasong. An amazing show. Drop mic. It's out of there.
But now you
They
just
move
bring in the
Sacred hit
Gothitelle,
so well, but
and you
that
fake out.
big hit onto that Pokemon.
That Screamtail, went ahead and
You
sang
fake
his
out,
song,
you
and
switch
now
into
it has to
Arcanine,
go
you switch back into the yeah.
Gothitelle going to be coming back out here, and so you could go for something like the fake out into the Dondozo and see if you're able to get something done with this Amoonguss, but you have some borrowed time here. Dondozo should be able to get knocked out due to the Parasol.
switch in the
He can't
Arcanine.
switch out, but the Amoonguss
Get
is
the
going to come
Intimidate.
back out for the Arcanine, get that Intimidate drop.
I'm assuming this is fake
Go
out.
for the Intimidate, and now the Dondozo
I don't know why it wouldn't
will be
be.
a little bit limited in the damage, but still being able to do a good amount.
Yeah.
Any damage, though, that it's trying to do will have to be for next turn because it will be a fake out. Now, Perish count on that Dondozo down to 2.
Yeah, I mean, you're still buying some time
Now
here.
you just
2 more turns. You couldn't go for the Earthquake here. If you are the Dondozo, Wolf could just
Yeah,
go
you
for
just-
another switch
you
here.
just
As the
protect.
Amoonguss is going to have its Perish count reset as well. That would take the Earthquake a little bit better.
Sorry if you
and
hear
preserve your
horns and
Arcanine for
sirens, by the
later.
way. I live
Deal
in
with something like
Philadelphia.
the Iron Hands and maybe even the Golden Go that would be in the back for Ashton. That's going to be some really nice, super effective damage that you'll want to have on hand. Also worth noting that we haven't seen a Terra yet from Ashton's side, so maybe that's something that you could look at as well, just to be
Yeah,
able
Ashton is
to
pinned
kind of
pretty bad here.
boost up your damage further down the line.
I just
Maybe wanna
he
see that
didn't really
with
execute the
one of those
Dondozo
options,
well,
but just
I would
need to
say.
be cleaning
Wolf
up
had
what
too
this
many
Dondozo
resources
has
available
set
to deal
up
with
to,
it.
since it can't do it all
And he
in a
set it
couple
up
turns,
too
or
early.
maybe
Like, he kind of just
in
exposed his
battle,
team
Gothitelle
here,
swapping out,
with
bringing
Wolf
the
having all of
Amoonguss
his
back
resources
in,
essentially to
thanks
deal
to
with the
Regenerator, and it's
Dondozo
looking healthier
when he
than
set it up.
ever.
Because you're getting
Arcanine, not gonna
intimidated,
be
you're
on the
getting
wrong
pinned,
end
you're getting
of an
fake
Earthquake
out.
this
Like,
time around, and we've already seen what this does to Amoonguss.
Yeah, it's not going to be doing too much here, even if it
to
was
me,
critical
he
hit.
should
I
have
think
played
you're
it like he did the
pretty
last
comfortable
game and
being able to
saved
take
it
that as
towards the
well,
end,
so
and just like
hard to
let
find out
Wolfey
just how
switch
much
around.
that does.
Because
It's not
Wolfey,
too much, but
doesn't.
you're able to
Wolfey doesn't really have damage this game. Like, without the Palfin, like, the only way that he's doing damage is with the Arcanine, which isn't hitting anything super effectively. Like, a lot of things resist it. And then with, like, Perish and switching around, I think if you save the Dondozo for later in the game and you just force Wolf to switch around, try to, like, because you're going to out damage him with an Iron Hands, and even a Dondozo that's not set up, especially with a Dondozo that has rest available to it, like, you could have done some damage with the Dondozo and the Iron Hands. Like, if you just led that, like, yeah, you're gonna get intimidated, but, like, you could still just start spreading damage around, and the Iron Hands could have Volt switched out into, I don't know what the fourth Pokemon is here. I'm assuming it's the Goldengo again. If he didn't bring the Goldengo, that could have been tough too, because if he led Goldengo into what was Wolf's lead? Gothitelle and Arcanine. Like, yeah, I think with Ashton this game, you have to go damage early and save the Dondozo for the end after you chip Wolfey. But I mean, good call by Wolf to assume that, or to just, like, go heavy into it, and he either knew or just was hoping that Ashton was not going to lead with the same amount of damage. Like, I think he kind of read Ashton's adjustment to him well.
It can hit decent enough damage, so you can't let that be in a position, especially when Wolf has taken some damage on these Pokemon. Gothitelle coming in place of the Amoonguss. The Arcanine has already protected, and it's going to be time for this Paratype on to the Arcanine.
Yeah,
this one is
I mean,
the water one, so making sure that something like a Wave Craft wouldn't be
just like a
doing
pure
excessive
defensive
KO.
Terra, because you don't need
more
Arcanine
importantly,
to
it's
do
actually
damage.
removing its fire type here, so any earthquake
Like, he's
coming
just there
through
to
from
spread intimidates and
Ashton's
not die.
Dondozo would not be able to hit the Arcanine for super effective damage, and so that's a really nice defensive Terra here from Arcanine to be able to withstand that. And
Gothitell's
just like that,
fucking
Dondozo's
bulky,
getting knocked
man.
out here thanks to the Perish Song.
Does do at least a decent amount of chunk to both Pokemon before it goes, but now the Tatsugiri is
Wait,
all
Tatsugiri's
by
there.
lonesome out on
He,
the
so it
field.
was the
Still,
Goldengo. I should
two
have
really
paid
strong
attention to that.
Pokemon on Ashton's end that are left.
I-
even with
you
the
just have to
Dondozo on
lead
that
the
Iron Hand
Goldengo.
and that Goldengo. Both of these Pokemon can
Just,
definitely
like,
hold their own in terms of damage.
I'm trying to-
still
I
see
hope I
a
don't
position,
sound
though,
like-
even if you bring in the Iron Hands here,
This is me just
and
talking
you're
myself
looking
into
at
my
the target
own
of the Arcanine
decisions
with
for,
the
like,
water
game plans and
Terra,
stuff,
you're
because
not going to be
I
doing
need to
that
make
much
myself feel
because
good
there's
about it,
still
because I'm
an
really bad at
ability
the
for Wolf
game.
to bring in the Amoonguss, which would also be able to handle that damage coming in from the
Ashton would
Iron Hands as
fucking
well. The fake
roll
out is
me.
where things
If
might be
you
able to get
gave
a
me
little bit
Wolf's team
interesting. Tatsugiri
versus
still has a little
Ashton's
bit of
team,
HP
and we played
remaining,
100
so you can
games,
still go for some
I would
type of attack
lose
here, but
99
these
of them.
targets have to be critical
I would
coming
lose
in here
100
from
of them.
Ashton. it's gonna have to do the job here.
I could
and
probably
Muddy
take.
Water is still gonna be
I would lose
Tatsugiri
100
is
of them.
locked into.
Yeah, it's so important, especially at this point in the battle. You just touched on it. These targets are so pivotal. You're looking at that end game. What you need to be taking out, and a well-timed protect more than ever could be that difference maker of regional champion or regional finalist at this point. It's so down to the wire.
Sorry, I gotta scratch my nose.
Players, the fake out onto the Iron Hand. Going to ensure nothing happens from that end, as extreme speed onto the Tatsugiri is going to get rid of that Pokemon, and now it's down to 2 for Ashton.
Yep, that's so nice there. You can see that the speed tier is
The fake out is a crazy combination with.
First, and then the Iron Hands
I feel like that's something that's not really been
and I love that we get the chance to finally see
as prevalent in Series 2. Definitely not Series 1, but Series 2 with Iron Hands, there's more fake out. But
it's down to
just like being able to pivot around with fake out is like such a valuable thing. Like a bulky fake out Pokemon is so valuable. That doesn't really have like a lot of pressure, like a target on its back. Like if it's not really like a threat to do damage, like people will target around it, but being able to take advantage of that with bulk and spreading fake outs around, that's like a really valuable thing that
choice specs, once you're locked in, you are locked, so that move choice is so important.
more often than not, I feel like you should have a fake out user on your team.
Pokemon that good, it's never going down, but Flare Blitz is
Yeah.
enough to take down the Golden Goat. One Pokemon left for Ashton.
I wonder what Terra Goldango was, because if Wolfey led Arcanine again, which I'm sure is why Ashton didn't want to use the
Did you see that? Knocking out the Arcanine, there's still a Gothitelle in the back, and because the defense is gonna fall.
He's very hype. I watched a lot of Wolfey, and I watch a lot of like all VGC content creators. There's a lot of really good ones. But Wolfey's funny because like he's been, and I've watched like every regionals for the last like 2 years. And he's been getting close. Like he really wanted a regional win, but he's been like very close, but like come up short a lot of times. So this has to feel really good for him, especially as like the VGC scene is like exploding and like getting bigger, and like a lot of people are just like really good now. Like the field has improved a lot, like just to kind of like confirm to himself and the community that like he's not just like a merchant of like a weaker field back in the day, and he's still able to do it at the top level. I'm sure that feels very good for him, because a lot of people like are saying that kind of shit.
This is it, keeping it right until the end of the battle. Can't be scored, can't be rage powdered. The Gothitelle gonna stay safe. It got healed up.
Like I don't know enough about these people personally to like really feel strongly one way or the other.
Doing anything, hitting into that protect. Now the Amoonguss. There's the opportunity.
But I'm happy to learn from him.
For something like the Pollen Puff, but instead the Spore. There was no terrestrializing.
Yeah, this is just.
And this time the Spore is not going to be doing anything.
Iron Hands isn't doing. Amoonguss hard walls Iron Hands. I don't think it's a coincidence that as Iron Hands has become like one of the most used Pokemon in the format, Amoonguss has also, because he just is so good into everything, but especially the Iron Hands. Jesus Christ. And he can fucking do damage with his supportive move, like, that's it.
Match is canceled. Wolf Lick taking the series. Your Orlando Pokémon
that's a good match.
Look at that. It was so cool getting a chance to see them do the interview side by
And
side.
I will not comment on
and it's tough because in Ashton's position when you're looking
Wolf's
at the
huge
Iron
dumpy.
Hands at the very end of the game, it just got locked down.
I'm not looking at it right now, by the way.
Blowing your defense and special defense, and like anything else is just not going to be able to do enough damage there. So terrestrializing tough. You gain some things.
That was a great match between like two like really good players.
As well. So even if you can take out the Gothitelle there.
So I feel the Dondozo.
See, it sounds so cliche,
what went
but
wrong,
so
I think, for Ashton was
really
in the second game he was able to win that by forcing Wolf into bad positions and picking up damage where he could get it, just like chipping his team enough so that by the time he did set up the Dondozo and the Tatsugiri, like Wolf would have had to. I don't like it when it's silent. It's just me. That's like very lonely. Yeah, like he didn't spread enough damage around before setting up the Dondozo and Tatsugiri, and then once he sets it up, like you're a sitting duck with Perish Trap there, and with like Fake Out and Amoonguss Disruption, Like, there's just like nothing you can really do unless you're able to knock them out quickly enough. But Wolf just had too many resources available to deal with the Dondozo Tatsugiri. I feel that people have become so used to playing against them, and everybody, when they build a team, it feels like has at least 2 answers to Dondozo Tatsugiri. So if you're gonna bring it and you're gonna use it effectively, you can't just set it up whenever and try to roll your opponents. You either need to make a hard read at the beginning of the game that you'll be able to set them up and they won't be able to deal with it, and you can just like pick people off as they're switching in, or you need to use it how Ashton used it in the second game, where like when people bring their resources to deal with the Dondozo Tatsugiri, they might be a little bit out of position versus your other team members, and spread some damage around. And then once you set it up at the end, you just don't have enough resources available left to deal with the Dondozo Tatsugiri. That's at least my read. I don't have experience. I'm just learning. I hope people enjoyed this video. Like, one of the only ways to get better at VGC other than like playing is to just watch good players. There's a lot of content creators that I watch. Wolfey's great. Aaron Zhang is the best. If you want to learn, I watch a lot of Aaron Zhang, and I can react to Aaron Zhang. He uploads almost every day. I can react to like almost everything he uploads if people be interested in that. That's a +1. Good content. Moxie Boosted, good content. James Bake, good content. Like, there's a lot of really good players out there that make good content that I'm happy to watch and learn from. But I'm not that guy, so I'm going to be watching them rather than you watch me try to tell you how to play Pokemon. That would be bullshit because I am terrible at the game. I like team building. Team building is fun. I feel like I'm a pretty decent team builder, but then when I go to play it, it just all falls apart, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, so if you enjoy content like this, like, subscribe, drop a like, please. It would mean a ton. Just starting making some content now, and I want to keep going with it. I'm gonna be streaming every day until I make it to Master Ball tier. I feel like that'd be fun. I'm gonna use rentals and stuff because I need to like grind the game more to be able to team build on my own. Like, team building, I wish it was easier to build teams like it was in Swordage. Anyway, I'm gonna be streaming every day until I get to Master Ball tier. That'll be a thing that I'm doing. So join me, watch. I'll be streaming on YouTube. So join me if you want to watch that. I'll be here every day until I get to Master Ball tier. And then after that, I'll probably stream every day until I get to rank 1. But yeah, if you want to, so also what I want to do with while making content is I want to make a community where there's just resources available, because right now there's not really like a centralized hub for resources. Things like grassroots tournaments. I'm counting grassroots tournaments. VGC Pace, there's like a centralized hub for that, but we can include that with tournaments. Just like other content, people that make good like team reports or videos, or just like a community of people to like bounce ideas off of and practice with and like team build, and like if you need a Pokemon, like trading. But yeah, so that'll be in my Discord. I have a Patreon set up. It's as cheap as Patreon suggests me to make it. I want it to be accessible. Join the Discord. We're going to build a community there where it's just other beginner VGC players helping each other. Try to centralize... Hey, this is distracting me now. Try to centralize a place where people have resources available to them and know like grassroots tournaments to practice. Because I feel the best way to practice is actually like an open sheet online tournament rather than laddering. Laddering is kind of like its own thing. It's like a separate thing, especially now with open team sheets. Like, it's just not the same game. But yeah, so join the Patreon, join the Discord through the Patreon, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, like the video, drop a comment. I'm going to be playing games later. Like, backseat me, please, when I'm playing. Like, in the comments, be like, you're a fucking idiot. You should have made this play. Why'd you make this play? You should have done this. Backseat me, please. I want to get better. I know there's probably hundreds of thousands of people that have played the game that are way better than me, and I want to get better. So I'm opening to backseating. Please stick around. It's going to be fun. If you watch this long, I doubt anybody has. If you've watched this long, hell yeah, let's go. Drop a subscribe. But yeah, thanks for watching. If anybody watched this far, I hope you like this kind of content. I can react to more Wolfey, Aaron Zhang, James Bake, like anybody who makes content. I'm happy to react to their videos, try to learn from them. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you later.